sometimes the easiest way to turn an unhealthy habit into a healthy one is to actually keep and go with the existing habit and just make a small change or a small adjustment rather than trying to change it completely. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm a weight loss and life coach, and I'm going to use this technique today, what I call the band-aid approach, going with an unhealthy habit in a healthier way to snacking. Because I truly believe that I've seen so many people try and radically transform their habits, right? You want to get healthier, you want to get fitter, you want to lose weight, you want to change something in your life. And what many people do is try and do the exact opposite of what they've been doing. They try and do it what I call the hard way, where they try and change everything. And very often, our habits, particularly complex habits, like overeating or mindless eating, have lots of little habits that build up into this one reaction, this one way of being. And so we underestimate how much change is required. Of course, we try it out. Maybe we're motivated for the first little while. We're determined, we're focused. You can do it for a bit. It's new, it's novel, it's fun. You're connected to that why it matters for you, that connected to that compelling reason. And then life happens. Something gets in the way, you get busy, it gets challenging. You realize it's actually taking more effort than you thought it would. And this is the place where most people just stop, just quit, just go back to the old habit and go, I'm just not good enough, I'm just not focused enough, I'm just not disciplined enough, I'll try it again later, when things are better, when I'm more in the zone, or more motivated, or I have more time, or things are less stressful. And the trouble is, for most of us, that isn't the way life works. It stays stressful, chaotic. We always fill our time with all sorts of things, responsibilities, choices. So, let me reiterate. When it comes to changing a habit, sometimes we have to apply the band-aid fix. We have to do a short-term strategy to just let our body heal, to let ourselves go with the existing routine while we're learning how to understand it, what the cues are, what the triggers are, what the habit actually is and why we have developed it in the first place. And while we take control of it, while we start to learn to interrupt the pattern of behavior, while we learn to make the healthy choice that we want to be making and reinforce that. All of our unhealthy habits, all of our unconscious eating, all of our mindless eating, all of our mindless snacking is coming from a unconscious reaction. That's what a habit is. It's just a learned pattern of behavior that we've repeated enough times until it's unconscious. We don't have to think about it anymore. Many of those behaviors are quite complex. There's multiple steps involved. There's lots of things going on. And that can take a while to unravel. Often we have to change multiple steps in there in order to have our long-term success, to have the habit the way we want it to be ultimately. So in the meantime, it's useful to think about this band-aid approach. Okay, how can I go with my habit instead of trying to work against it, right? Some people do this, like for instance, at morning tea. Right, so today I'm going to apply it to snacking. So let's think about all the times where you might be snacking in an unhealthy way. Maybe it's coffee and cake at morning tea, or reaching for that biscuit just because you're having a tea or a coffee. Maybe it's there's some work you want to avoid, or some study you don't want to do. You're procrastinating, and your brain thinks it's hard, or it's difficult or challenging, or you might be judged on the performance of this review. Maybe it's an exam, a test, or something like that. Maybe it's something someone else is going to see, and you're like, I'll just go do something else for a moment. Instead, I'll just have a little snack. I'll just fuel up. Maybe it's just because food is there and it's available. You're at a party or a gathering, or it's just what you do at that time, right? You've come to expect in the afternoon that you go and have a snack, or after dinner, it's time to eat something. Okay, habits. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with snacking. Let me just come back to that. First of all, often to have our healthy weight loss, to be living our healthy life, to solving hunger in a healthy way, snacking can be an important part of the process. Not everybody needs it. For many people, having 3 square meals a day, so to speak, having their regular meals is sufficient. They don't feel the hunger, they're satisfied because they're making healthy, feeling, sustaining choices. But many of us aren't doing that. Maybe you aren't making the best choice, or it just takes longer for you as your next eating occasion. So for many people, food lasts 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours, depending on the types of nutrients you're putting in there. So for many people, hunger is expected, that you're going to have these periods of hunger. So rather than trying to not eat, I'm just going to not have the cake, or I'm just going to not have the biscuit, I'm just going to say no, I'm just going to be good. Right? Instead, we might go, okay, I'm going to eat. I'm not actually hungry here. Now, this is the thing to really pay attention to. If it's hunger, of course, snacking is a useful tool. Ultimately, we want to be eating when we're hungry, stopping when we're satisfied. If you do that, we eliminate overeating. And that can do so much for helping you return to a healthy weight if you're not in your healthy weight range. It can help you lose the weight if you've gained excess, right? By just learning to ultimately eat when we're hungry, stop when we're satisfied. But for many people, we have years, decades, a lifetime of overriding our hunger signals or ignoring our hunger signals. We've all these other patterns and cues and habits trained in because food is there, or it's on offer, or someone offered it to me, I can't say no, or it's just what I do at that time, or I need it. We medicate with food, we distract with food, we stimulate with food. We use food to solve an awful lot of issues that food really can't solve. It's how most of us get to unhealthy habits in the first place. So ultimately, of course, it would be best, ideal, to replace those habits so that we're not solving emotional needs, we're not solving boredom, we're not solving our emotions with food, because food is the solution to hunger. And that's all. It's the nutrition in our life. It's the fuel for our bodies. And there is joy and pleasure in it if you have tasty, enjoyable food. And so I think that's an important part of being successful for the long term, making sure you're enjoying what you're doing. But ultimately, if we're not hungry, food is not the solution. So again, the long-term strategy here, of course, is to understand why we're overeating, how we've developed that habit, and then solve what the real issue is in a healthy way. That can take some work. For most people, that can be like 3 to 6 months, sometimes a year, to retrain those habits, depending on all of the history of building that up, how long it's been trained in for, and how willing you are to go into the discomfort of actually dealing with the real issue. Okay, so those are obstacles for most people. So when you're first starting out, or when you're first starting to get a handle on a behavior, right, you're first starting to investigate, why am I actually eating? What am I actually eating for if it's not hunger? Then trying to change all at once is overwhelming. And of course, for many people, that's the first stage of quitting. It's like, it's too hard, I can't do it, I don't know how, I'll just go back to what I know. No, that's what I want to offer for you today, that we can change that. That we can do what I call the Band-Aid fix. So you can go, okay, I know that eating isn't the best answer here if it's not hunger, but for now, I'm going to go with the ritual of eating at this time in response to this cue, our location or environment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it over so that I'm making a healthier choice, a choice that's going to have less impact on my weight, on my kilojoule consumption, or it's going to be a healthier choice. It's going to provide some nutrition or some other nutrients that my body would otherwise be lacking. You know, when we look at the stats, most Australians get only a small percentage actually get their required levels of fruit and vegetables every day. Many people I talk to are going well under on their recommended levels of whole grains or of dairy for their nutrition. So there are opportunities to go, well, at least if I'm eating, right, again, it might not be the best solution because I'm trying to solve something that isn't hunger, but I can go with it in a healthier way so I can get some of my body's nutrition, I can nurture my body while I learn to understand the habit and to transform it into my ultimate solution. So again, it's the Band-Aid fix. We're just doing this for a little while to help. All right. Sometimes, by the way, it is enough just to make these small changes, and that can add up to moving from gaining territory into maintaining, or maintaining into losing. You really can sometimes do it just with these small swaps. So that's what I mean by going with the habit, right? I've got this cue in my trigger, right? I've had this emotional event where I'd normally be eating, or I have this habit of sitting on the couch after dinner and having something sweet. Or it's afternoon, I've just gotten home from work, or I've just finished work, I've logged on for the day if I'm working from home, I've just finished my chores or my responsibilities, and I'm going to crack open a bottle of wine or have a beer, or I'm going to have a packet of chips. Whatever it is for you, just notice these occasions that we're giving ourselves a little reward at the end of the day, or we've trained our body to expect something sweet after dinner to finish the day, or we're giving ourselves a joyful, nice experience because we've got special food or treat type food. We're giving ourselves a little moment of pleasure, a little bit of feel good. We've trained our body perhaps to expect that last thing at night, or at morning tea, whenever it is for you, or that's what I do at a party to have fun. Is it actually fun, overeating? Is it actually a reward, undermining your health and well-being? Is it ultimately relaxing if you're overeating or eating unhealthily as a ritual just because you got to the end of the day? I don't think so. So ultimately, of course, those are behaviors I'd recommend changing. So let's go with it for now. Let's say you want to apply this Band-Aid approach to your snacking. So firstly, let's bring your awareness to what you are snacking on. Now, if you are snacking on healthy choices, fantastic. That's great. What I will say is make sure you don't get locked into just the same old all the time. You do want variety. You want to make sure you're covering all of your nutritional needs, right? Are you getting all of your different food groups? What I'd like to know in this video, and let me know in the comments, is what are your favorite go-to healthy sweet and savory snacks? For most people, have a preference for one or the other. Maybe you have both, but I find for many people it's one at a certain time and another one at a different time. It might be savory in the afternoon, sweet after dinner, sweet at morning tea, for instance. So I do like to classify them that way, and I like to think about, okay, I'm going to eat in response to this trigger. It's this time or this location, it's this time of day, I've gotten to reward, the food is just there, or this is what I always do. Now, I know it's not solving hunger, but for now, I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to make the choice I'm making healthier. So we keep the cue or the trigger in the environment, we keep the result or the reward, you're getting a little distraction, a little stimulation, a little feel-good moment. We're just going to alter the behavior in a small way. One small change. So instead of having the cake, for instance, if I'm having something sweet, I might have, what else could I have that was sweet? Maybe it's a homemade mug muffin. Maybe it's a piece of fruit for something sweet. An apple, a pear, a banana, a date, mandarin, some figs. Maybe one of my other favorite sweets is something like low-fat yogurt. Now, of course, traditional yogurt, Greek-style yogurt, the healthiest versions, right? Of course, are going to be sour. Yogurt is sour milk. But maybe you choose an alternatively sweetened one. Or you add something. You add some fruit to the yogurt to give it that sweetness. Don't forget your vegetables here. They're often vegetables. Okay, I'm going to say cherry tomatoes, which I know is technically a fruit. I like to class it as a vegetable, though. But like cherry tomatoes, carrots can be really sweet. Think about pumpkin being sweet. Think about when you roast pumpkin. It's actually often really sweet. Could you spread that on some rice crackers or some corn thins? Could you make it into soup, right? And if you don't think pumpkin can be sweet in a soup, think about just making your pumpkin soup with butternut or Kent or whatever. You make your pumpkin, and then you put in a pear. Or when you're roasting your pumpkin, before you blend it and mix it into a soup, can you drizzle it with some maple syrup or some sugar-free maple syrup to really bring out and enhance that sweetness? Right. Lots of different ways you can change up pumpkin soup. So, for instance, we're going into winter months, so maybe a soup is something that you want warming. It can be sweet, right? Vegetables can be sweet. So vegetables, fruit, yogurt, right? If I haven't got enough dairy, could I go to a yogurt here as something sweet? Can I bake or make something in a healthier way to reduce its kilojoule intake, to reduce its sugars, to reduce its fats, so that I get to still have a treat? Maybe it's a protein ball. Right? Can I still have something sweet that's going to fulfill that psychological need, but giving me more nutrition or taking in less kilojoules than whatever I had been having? Right? So there's just a couple of sweet spots. What are your favorite sweet options? Let me know in the comments. If you're a savory person, think about switching, right? If you would normally have a packet of chips or crisps, or you'd be having a handful or half a bag or a bag of nuts, or you'd go something salty, right? It'd be a cheese, for instance. Okay, could you make a switch here? What else could you have that's savory, that gets that salty umami thing? Could you have some edamame beans? Could you switch to something like carrots and salsa? Adding a little bit of salsa there to get the savouriness. Like so veggie sticks, crudités, celeries and capsicum, and even blanched broccoli or cauliflower, right? Could you use that as your crunchy part of your snack? Could you put your cheese? Could you choose a lower fat cheese? Could you use a lighter cheese? Could you use a light cream cheese? Could you use something like a little bit of halloumi, for instance? Could you use a small amount of feta? Could you use a smaller amount of a strongly flavored cheese? Could you put it on pear slices or apple slices instead of on crackers? Could you use a rice cracker or a whole grain crisp bread like Vita Wheat or Cruskits or something like that? Right? Can I make a change that's going to be healthier? By the way, I'm choosing whole grains here. Again, not enough people get their fiber. Can I get a high fiber version? It's going to keep me fuller for longer. It's going to add towards those grain totals in the day. What about something like air popped popcorn? If I want something crispy, like instead of chips, for instance, could I have air popped popcorn? If I do want nuts, could I control the portion? Can I weigh and measure them out? Can I have a small handful? Can I go to unsalted and natural instead of roasted salted? Could I spice them myself with a little paprika or a little cumin? What about protein here for a savoury snack? Could you go to a tin of tuna or salmon? Could you, particularly in brine, not in oil, right? Even if it's got flavour, could you go a step towards a healthier choice? Could you have that on your crisp breads or your rice crackers or your corn thins? What about a boiled egg? So many different ways to get something salty, to have that umami, without having to add up all of the kilojoules. It doesn't have to be chips. It doesn't have to be crackers. It doesn't have to be a biscuit. Okay. Can you make a swap? And again, let me know in the comments what your favourite salty, savoury snacks are that are healthier. Of course, just apart from making smart swaps, you can also do other small changes, other small band-aid fixes, like weighing and measuring your portions. What if you decided to have half a piece of cake instead of the piece of cake as the first place to start? What if you even just decided to leave one bite on the plate unfinished? Or if you can't do that, I actually think that's a really good tool to do, just to leave one bite. Have one bite less than you normally would and just leave it. Throw it out. Teach your brain that you don't have to eat everything on your plate. It's a really great skill to learn. If you have trouble doing that, can you throw out the first bite and then eat the rest? That's one bite less. Now, will one bite less make a massive difference to your weight? No, not on its own. But we're talking about changing a habit here, making that small adjustment. And over time, those small amounts compound. They add up. What also happens is you start to teach your brain is that you don't just have to have it because it's there. You don't have to do what you've always done. And this is a powerful mindset switch to make. It's a powerful skill to build Because then, as you go through it, you're like, oh, actually, I've been having slightly less cake every day. Or I've been having, I've been leaving that one bite or the last bite of a meal or the last part of the snack. I took one bite of the cookie and I threw the rest away. Just to prove to yourself that you can. It becomes a skill. And suddenly, you realize that all of these habits are just choices and that you don't have to keep repeating them if you don't want to. So it really brings you to a step, it levels you up so that you can take the next step of completely changing that behavior if you want to, right? If you then get to that stage and go, oh, I realize I'm not really hungry here. I'm just eating my emotions, or I'm eating because of trigger, or it's eating because that's what we do at this time in this place. Okay, I don't have to do that anymore. Because I realize I've just been making this unconscious choice, and we've now brought it into your consciousness. It is now in your power to take control of. Sometimes we have to build that skill first by applying the Band-Aid, by going with the habit for a little while in a healthier way. All right, well, I hope that has been helpful for you. If I'd love to hear your feedback, so let me know. Do you agree in the comments? Do you disagree? Have I got it wrong? Let's inspire each other with ideas, right? What are your healthy sweet and healthy savory snacks? How else in your life have you applied this Band-Aid approach where you go with the habit in a slightly healthier way as just the place to start, or as just the next step towards your ultimate goal? It doesn't have to just be food. We can do this in many areas of our life, but I thought snacking is a really great example to start with. So this week, pay attention to why you're snacking, and think about how might you apply a Band-Aid? How might you make that snacking choice a little bit healthier? I'd love to hear how you go. Of course, if you do have trouble with this, you want some more help, reach out to me at livemylife.com.au, book a consultation, talk to me in the DMs or in the comments, and let's see if working together can really help you then. If you really do want to solve your unhealthy eating patterns for good, you want to get out of that diet mentality, and you want to live more of your life at goal, right? Get to goal, stay there. Change the mindset, change the habits, create a life you want to live. If you want more of that, that's what I help people do. So reach out and let's have a conversation. Until then, enjoy this, happy snacking, apply the Band-Aid approach, and share your ideas with everyone else in the comments. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.